What we do that's special and different is we say, our opinion matters and we've got expertise, but let's expose you to a world of data. We've worked with over 14,000 students. Let's harvest those insights on what really goes into a winning application, and let's evaluate what does your student need to do to have the outcome they're desiring.
So my students have been admitted to all sorts of schools, ranging from top public research universities to highly selective private schools and Ivies. Some examples are Columbia, Northwestern, Stanford, UT Austin, University of Michigan, NYU, just to name a few.
We have gotten a lot of acceptances. Some of the highlights have been Duke, Vanderbilt, University of Miami, University of Southern California.
I had a student last year apply early decision to Johns Hopkins and get in. He wasn't really sure about where he wanted to apply, so I helped him with a lot of research about institutions that would fit his personality and academic interests. And so we started the process. He began writing drafts of his personal statement and I reviewed them. And we went through multiple different variations and compared them and, talked about which ones worked and which ones didn't. And then we also worked on his supplemental essays where, using our discussions, we were able to come up with compelling stories for them. So ultimately, he submitted his application and was admitted to his dream school.
So I had a student last year who knew from the get-go that she wanted to be an English professor, but one of her biggest activities that she dedicated a lot of her life to was horseback riding, and she didn't feel like it was important to her story because it wasn't English-facing. So I really encouraged her to put that higher up on her activities list because all of her passions and the leadership and community experience she got was from those lessons learned at the barn. And Preppery backed me up on that, and we were able to get some really good stories about how she grew as a leader, how she was a mentor to the younger girls at her stable, and I think the schools really liked seeing those aspects of her that weren't just, I want to go to school and be an English professor.
A big success story that I've had last year was working with a senior who his whole personal statement was upon the premise of SpongeBob quotes. That was his whole essay, and it was comedic, it was funny. I'm a SpongeBob fan, so of course I enjoy reading it over and over again, and he ended up going to Princeton because he really showcased not just what he could do, but who he was.
Another special moment for me is with a family based out of California that's had 3 daughters, and they've worked with us for all 3 daughters. The first daughter got into her top choice school, and it was Sunshine and Rainbows. And the second daughter ended up getting waitlisted at her top choice school. It's very uncommon, especially for the caliber of school that this student was waitlisted at, for students to be admitted off the waitlist. It's like even more selective than the 3% acceptance rates that you see nowadays. And we worked so hard and intentionally on the waitlist strategy, and then the second daughter was admitted off the waitlist to her top choice school. But the kicker is, with the third daughter, we found ourselves back in the waitlist situation, where again, it's like you're striving, you're near the finish line, you're almost there, the stakes feel high because you want your kid to thrive and flourish. And again, we pulled a hat trick, and the student gets into their top choice school in a super unlikely waitlist situation. So that moment felt great because it just feels great to win. You love nothing more than making your client happy, but it also feels great when a family says, I trust you, and I'm gonna come back and trust you again. I'm gonna come back and trust you a third time. And I know that what you're giving to me, what I'm receiving from you, how you're showing up, responding to, being available for me is what I need. And so I'm gonna give not just my money and not even just my time, but I'm gonna give my kids' attention and their energy to you because I know you're gonna do right by me. That feels really good.
So one of my favorite client success stories happened with a transfer student in her second year in college. She's a fantastic actress, and her dream was to make it big in New York. Like me, like so many other people. She had applied to NYU 2 times by the time we started working together. So this was her third and final chance to make this switch. We met every day, well, not every day, but sometimes we were talking almost every day about her essays, about her portfolio, about her acting reels. And finally it came that time to submit, and I could just tell that she felt ready. She knew that this was going to be the chance, that this was the time for her to reach this dream. And then a few months later, I get the text. I was accepted to NYU Tisch School of Art, and it was everything that we'd been working for. It was so fulfilling, so satisfying, and I was just so excited for her. So third time really can be the charm, even in admissions.
So I was on call with Peter about scholarship essays. So we were writing some essays for scholarships, and I actually get a notification on the call with him, Zoom call, that Purdue had released admissions. And I knew that morning was probably going to be later in the day I would get it. But I got it on call, and I was actually recording because I wanted to record me getting into some of my schools because I thought it would be cool to look back on. And he was in the camera. We both read the admissions letter at the same time. It was really, really cool experience.
Yeah, it was cool. I'd never been on a call with a student before when they got an admissions decision, particularly to one of their top schools. So it was a great moment. I've been on calls with students before when they'd received different admissions decisions, but this was kind of one of Sean's top programs. And he said, "Oh my God, Peter, cut me off right in the middle of talking about scholarship." He's like, "I got an email from Purdue." And I was like, "Oh, sometimes it's them letting you know when they're going to release their updates or whatever. But this was, click here for your admissions decision." And I was like, "Do you want me to, take a minute? I can turn camera off, or we can, pause the meeting. You can go down and come back." And he's like, "No, let's look at it together." So my heart dropped into my stomach because, I was as hopeful as can be, but Purdue's a top 5 engineering program. It's very competitive. So I was like, okay, let's see if it worked. And he opened it, and I saw the confetti and the congratulations. And then he's just kind of looking off at the camera. I'm crying, and I'm like, "Allow me, Sean, I'll read it for you." And so I read the letter aloud to him, and we just kind of sat there and
some of us cried. One of us.
I think your eyes were watering a little bit. I was definitely crying more. I don't think that that's a bad thing. Proud mother, as they say.
One student of mine was a very high achieving student, but had a really difficult time understanding where he would be successful in university. So we spent a lot of time thinking about and researching different schools and understanding what would be the best option for him. He struggled a lot to determine which school would be the best for him to apply to, early decision. And ultimately, he chose Columbia. We applied there. He had an excellent application, and we had incredible success. He received a handwritten note from a department chair in the area in which he was interested in studying, letting him know how amazed the university was by his application, his personal statement, and how excited they were to have him join their community.
There is this 9th grader who's going to be a 10th grader that I'm working with, and it started off as him being very nervous about the college admissions process, him not knowing a lot about the college admissions process. But in our very first session, we established a brotherhood together where we realized we're really nerdy. We play video games a lot. He loves music. I love music as well. And using that brotherhood, using that camaraderie, he now trusts me a lot. And in my last parent check-in with his parent, the parent just thanked me for an extended amount of time for getting to learn the student as a friend first, and the student really trusts me. And the parents now see a radical shift in how the student sees academics, how the student studies, how they take their coursework seriously, only because I'm the one saying it, but because they trust me a lot too. Some of the schools that my students have been admitted to is UPenn, UC Berkeley, Emory, Hamilton, Georgetown, Tufts, and especially the greatest school in the nation and my alma mater, UNC Chapel Hill.
I was very proud when my student was accepted to the University of Pennsylvania's Kelly Writers House Summer High School program. This is a program that serves maybe 20 students and students that are interested in nonfiction creative writing. But my student was a poet. She had never done any kind of nonfiction writing outside of what was asked from her English teachers. So she was definitely nervous going into the application process, but her love and interest in UPenn trumped everything. She wanted to be on this campus. So of course, we worked hard on her application essays, we primed her portfolio for submission, and she did end up getting selected as one of those 20 students. And now she has no fears when it comes to her writing. She feels just as confident tackling poetry as she does nonfiction, as she does analytical essays. She is secure in her talent.